All right, I think it's safe to say that this lighting sucks. We've just got the one ceiling light on right now. It's not lighting up my face very nicely and just overall not giving a great feel to this video. I'm using a professional camera to record this right now, but it still looks bad. So today I want to show you how you can take something like this and turn it into something more like this, with just a basic 3-point lighting setup. I'm going to teach you what that means, exactly what lights you should consider buying depending on your budget, and how to position them to look good for your video. So let's get into it. So in a minute, I'm going to turn off all these lights and turn them back on one by one to show you what each of these lights is doing to help us create this scene. But first, I want to quickly explain what a 3-point lighting setup is, because it's the foundation for this setup. If this isn't the first lighting tutorial you've watched, you've probably heard the term 3-point lighting setup before. All it means is that our lighting setup consists of 3 main lights: a key light, a fill light, and a edge light, or also called a hair light. And I'll get into what each of those means, but how we position these lights and the lighting modifiers we use on these lights is going to make a big difference. Now, when it comes to what lights to actually buy for something like this, you can spend a little bit of money or you can spend thousands. Either way, the principles of this video are the same, but here's what you can kind of do on a budget versus what you can do if you want to invest a little more money into your setup. If you're on a $0 budget, there is nothing wrong with some window light. It's going to be a million times better than any in-house like ceiling light like I was using before. Window light is going to be a great quality of light. You just got to position yourself close to the window and have it just kind of naturally evenly light up your face. There are of course some downsides to window light. You don't really have a whole lot of control over the quality of light. Like if it's nighttime or the weather's bad outside, then you're just going to have worse light or no light. So this is fine if you just don't want to put any money into this right now. But if you have even $100 to $200 to invest in this setup, let me show you how that can help. In the couple $100 range, you have a lot more options. For an all-in-one solution, you can pick up a lighting kit off of Amazon with 2 or 3 lights. This will include the lights, softboxes, light stands, pretty much everything you need to actually get going. However, there's still some downsides at this price point. Lights like these are cheaply built and have no brightness or color temperature controls. And they often only work with the softboxes that they come with. So although they actually don't look too bad, we're really limited in how we can control them and set them up. The color that comes out of these lights can also be a problem. Proper video lights are color calibrated to have a really correct high quality light output, but these are going to be probably some cheaper fluorescent bulbs that are bright and they're still technically like daylight balanced, but they're not going to have that same color accuracy, which means your skin tones could be a little bit off. These lights are a great bang for your buck kind of situation, but they still have their limitations. If you want to invest in some truly good video lights and have a ton of options, then you only need to spend a bit more than that. Some entry-level LED video lights are going to be your best option here. These lights come in all shapes and sizes, but for example, something like this Juin B100 is compact, it's still really bright, and it has good quality of light and also color temperature and brightness controls. It also has a standard Bowens mount, which is a universal mount that most lighting modifiers use. So that means you can buy all sorts of different modifiers to change how this light looks. Or you could go to the next level and get something like this newer FS300C. They recently sent this over to me and it's a fantastic light for the money. It's 300 watts, so it can get super bright in a ton of different situations, and it can change temperature, and this one has RGB modes too. Lights like this used to cost thousands of dollars even just a few years ago. So the fact that you can get a light like this for under $300-ish is kind of insane. They also have a smaller FS150C. Generally, for a small room like this, 300 watts is a little bit overkill, but it gives you a lot of flexibility. If you're just starting out, this probably sounds kind of expensive, but trust me, quality video lights are worth it if this is something that you're doing in the long run. If you're not sure if this type of content creation is for you yet, if you're just getting going, then definitely I always recommend spending the least amount of money possible to get something that still does the job. You don't need to go insane if you're not committed to this. But if you are committed to this, if you are growing a following and this is something that you definitely want to be like your full-time thing, or at the very least just something that you do really consistently, then some proper video lights are definitely worth the investment, in my opinion. Even more so than a good quality camera, because cameras are great, but if you have a terrible lighting setup, like you saw in the beginning of this video, this is like a $5,000 lens and camera combo. But with the terrible video lighting, it still looks bad. So even if you're shooting on a cheap camera or your phone, having good video lights is going to make a massive impact. Now, ideally you get 3 of these lights, but if you're on a tighter budget, you can get away with just 1 of these really high quality video lights, which is going to run you around the same cost as like the lighting kit. And then also a 5-in-1 bounce reflector, which is something that I would recommend you get no matter what setup you have going on, because it basically functions as a whole other light that you can use because you're bouncing light off of it. It's super versatile and you can get one for like $40. I'm actually using it in this setup right now, but we'll get to that. So if you just get a couple light stands, a reflector, and one of these nice lights, you can get very close to what this setup is right now for around $300. All right, now that you understand the gear, let's get into the technique. We're gonna turn off all the lights and start with our key light. I've got my PowerShot camera set up over here. Hey, that's just gonna be kind of a behind the scenes angle so you can kind of see where I'm putting these lights. So starting with just our key light, I have the newer FS300C with an aperture light dome softbox on it. The white balance on this light is set to 5600K, which is also what I have my camera set to, which makes it so that everything in the image looks the color that it should. This light with this lighting modifier creates a really soft, large light source, which means the light is going to be very flattering and the transition from the bright points to the dark points is going to be a lot softer. You can kind of see it transitions on my face here. Ideally, we want this to be positioned about 45 degrees to the side of the camera, and then we want it to be a little bit higher than our eye line looking down at us. This way it's lighting up mostly just one side of the face, but it does wrap around a little bit and also hits this cheek a little bit here. This is what we call Rembrandt lighting, based off the painter Rembrandt, who painted a lot of his paintings in this style. It's signified, you can tell, by this little kind of upside down triangle of light we get on our face. So you also want this light as close as possible to you without being in the frame. You can see if I touch the light here, it's just out of frame here. And that's because the closer the light is to you, the softer it's going to look. Whether you have a hard lighting modifier or a soft lighting modifier, if it's closer to you, it's going to be softer than if it's further away. And for this look, at least, I want a softer light. The other benefit to a bright video light is that we can bring down the camera's ISO. In that first shot, I had to bump up my ISO because the ceiling light was not bright enough to light up the scene. So I had to bring up the digital noise and the digital exposure in camera, which is going to make the image quality look more flat. It's going to make the colors look worse, and it's going to add more noise into the image. Because we're using proper video lights here, I can have my ISO lower and the camera does less of the heavy lifting here. And that applies whether you're using a fancy camera like this or your phone. Next is our fill light. The job of the fill light is right in the name. It's positioned opposite to the key light, again, about 45 degrees to the side of the camera on the opposite side now. And this is here to softly and gently fill in the shadows on this side of my face that are created by the key light. So this light here is the Zhiyun B100 that I mentioned before. It just has a regular reflector attachment on it, and it's shooting into my 5-in-1 reflector here, which is set up to be a diffusion panel. So this is going to create a really nice soft light hitting my face, similar to the softbox. And as you can see, we still have some shadow here. It's still a little bit darker on this side of my face. And that's what you want to go for, because you still want to have contrast within your scene. If I bring this light up a lot brighter, hold on, I'll do that real quick. Now this light is a lot brighter and it still looks good, but now my face is very evenly lit. I think I actually made it a little brighter than my key light, but now we have an image where everything is very flat, which is okay. There's nothing necessarily wrong with that. But for something like this, I want to create a little more contrast because it creates more depth. And in my opinion, that's a little more interesting. So we're gonna bring that back down. The goal is to fill in some of that contrast without getting rid of it entirely. And this light will also be at 5600 Kelvin. Now you can stop here if you want. This looks pretty good on its own. And if you did the lighting setup I recommended earlier, where you get one professional video light and a bounce, this would be where you stop. Instead of the light as my fill, I would position the bounce with the white side of it just right over here. And that would bounce the key light off of it and do basically the same thing that my fill light is doing right now. But we're missing one finishing touch here, which is our edge light or hair light. The goal of this light is to go in the background off to the side. It's actually positioned right next to my little camera over here. This light is a tricky one to set up because you want it to be behind you, but you don't want it to be in your frame. So because of the constraints of my little office here, I can't actually have this light exactly where I would want it. I would probably want it somewhere near the corner of that picture frame coming back towards me if I could do that. But I want to shoot on a wide angle lens here, so that's not really possible. It has to be a little more off to the side than I would probably like it to be. So the goal with this light, we turned on here, and now it's just kind of hitting my shoulder and my side over here, and it's going to separate me from the background a little bit. Now, because this light isn't directly hitting my face, we can also mess around with the color temperature a little bit. So having it at 5600 Kelvin, the same as our main lights, is still going to look good, but I like to warm it up a little bit and have kind of a warm glow to it, because as you can see, this light is also spilling into our background a little bit and giving us a little warmth back here too. I'm using my aperture. This is an older light. It's called the Aperture F7. I don't think they make this one anymore, but you can get away with pretty much any small LED panel for this setup. And that's pretty much it. Although I do have a bonus light for you. Let me grab it. This is an Aperture MC. You can use any light for this really, but this one is really convenient. And what we're going to do is add in a practical light or a background light into our scene. Now, those are two slightly different things. A practical light is a light that you can see in your scene. That would be like a lamp on my desk or something like that. That's nice because it adds a little more interest into your background, and you can also use it to motivate lighting. So you have the practical light over here, which you're going to see on camera, but isn't actually going to light up a whole lot. And then you could also have your key light or your fill light or your hair light coming from that direction as well and hitting the back of you. So it looks like the lighting is motivated. It's coming from somewhere, even though it's not actually coming from the little light. Now, more generically, a background light, which is what I'm going to do here, is just any light that you throw into your background that's not really affecting the subject, which is you in this case. So this one, we can do whatever we want with. We can have some creative freedom with it. Try setting it to like a blue color and throwing it over here somewhere. There, now something fun is going on over there. This doesn't really need to be lighting anything up. It's just more for vibes. And if you want even more atmosphere or vibes, you can throw in some haze too. Really taking our chances with the fire alarm today. And there you have it. We went from this with just my ceiling light to this. And just look how much the quality improved. Same camera, nothing changed here, just the lights. This should be the proof you need that lighting is one of the most important aspects when it comes to your image quality. If you want to check out any of the gear I used in this video, I'm going to link it all down in the description. I tried to come up with some different options for you depending on your budget, because I know spending $300 to $500 on lights is not realistic for everyone, even though in the video production space, that is definitely on the lower end, which is honestly great that that's so accessible now. But still, there is no shame in not buying expensive lights if this is not like your main thing. But that's all I got for you in this one. Thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.